Welcome to another episode of Ask the Zamboni Experts. Today we are joined by Ian Huffman of the Columbus Blue Jackets and Nationwide Arena. He is their lead ice technician. Good afternoon, Ian. How you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for joining us for this. We greatly appreciate it. We know that you're probably busy and got a million things going on in your building, but we appreciate you spending some time with us.
You bet.
Great. Hey, one of the things we wanted to learn from you is how did you find this job that you have at Nationwide Arena, and how did you get in the industry?
I started about 15 years ago working for the local chiller ice rinks, just looking for a part-time job, got hired there. And after my first year there, I was asked to start driving there at the rink, and kind of fell into the passion and the challenge of ice making, and and everything that goes into it, and operating a machine. And from there I started downtown at the arena part-time, working for the ice crew during games, and then 11 years ago I took over full-time as the ice tech at the arena. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. How much training did you receive prior to coming into this building, or while you've been at Nationwide, and what programs have you been a part of for training?
We didn't do a lot when I was at the rink originally. A lot of what I did, the guys at the rink had their CIT, and I kind of learned from them. So a couple guys at the local rink, the facilities guys, that's where I kind of cut my teeth, I guess, and kind of learned from them. They used to work for our old East Coast team, the Columbus Chill, and when that went away, they were hired at the building, and so I kind of learned from them. And then when I went downtown, the ice technician at the time, Rich Phillips, he had worked out west in a couple of different buildings for quite a while and had a lot of experience. And the 3 years that I had working under him was really where I learned a lot of, I guess the NHL level, the multi-purpose facility side of making ice, and not just a community rink where it's there every day. So it's been a kind of a combination of the two. I've been involved in taking some of the CIT courses, as well as helping to teach a couple of them. And then with our NHL group, we have our professional ice making course that we offer to our members. And that course I was kind of a part of an education committee that helped to design the course and lay it out and write it. And then I teach that in the summer to our membership as well, part of a crew that does that. So
now that leads to one of the questions I had later, but I'll jump on it now. You're referring to FOMA, and
correct, yeah.
You're involved with that. I know that it's difficult with a lot of cancellations going on due to CV, that's been put off until next year. How tight is that band of NHL brotherhood as far as you guys reaching out to each other?
It's been great. When I first started going to the meetings 10 years ago, I could tell there was definitely almost, guys kind of wanted to almost keep things secret. The NHL, obviously the teams and the officials fill out facility reports, and we would use those. And there's been a big push to kind of get away from making it a competition and trying to make the ice overall within the National Hockey League better. So I think in past years there's been a lot more guys leaning on other facilities and colleagues in the league to kind of learn from them, and creating best practices and standard operating procedures and things like that. So it's really been a great group to be a part of. I'm an officer on the board, and it's great working with those guys. Whether it's a weekly call or a monthly call, or the conference in the summer, getting together and learning and they're the guys that go through the same things that you do throughout the season, the long days and the long hours and flipping from concert and hockey to basketball and different things like that. So it's really been a great group.
Do you think that some of the changes in that have to do with the guys getting younger? I know I've been in the industry for, I like to say 112 years. It hasn't quite been that long, but there seems to be a change. There's some of the guys, the real experienced guys out there, the Danny Aherns, the Bruce Theraldsons, Jack from Madison Square Garden, but it seems like there's younger guys now that are coming in. And do you think that that is been helpful in bringing you guys closer together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, whether the older guys that have been around for a while and know each other, when we get together, you can see the different groups that are getting together, and there's an understanding, I guess, before the meetings and as these guys were getting into the league, there really wasn't anything for them to reference, or it was just, who from the league can help out, or who's got the experience can I call. And now that we've got some turnover and we've had these meetings and getting people together year after year, it's created a better relationships kind of top to bottom, and people have been able to definitely help each other out a lot more.
Do you think maybe with some of the different things that they've got going on now, that kind of leads to it, like the outdoor games? And I know I go back to 2002 being at Salt Lake, that some of those guys created relationships there. But do you think that that also contributes to it?
Yeah, for sure. The league is, continually working each year as they go to the different cities to involve the local crews as best they can, and based on their availability, bringing some new, kind of new blood into the group itself, just to give guys experience. And it's a whole different bird. Making ice outdoor, obviously, if anybody's, a lot of people have experienced at some point in their career. But when you go through it and you spend the time with the guys, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, sometimes, it definitely helps with that. So,
is it on your bucket list to be a part of an Olympic Games sometime in the future?
I've spoken to a lot of the guys that have been a part of it, and from that, there's kind of a mixed feeling, like, is it something that I want to do? I think, I can't take it for granted. I guess I have it really good, having been around a lot of these players for a while. But I think if the right opportunity came, for me, I would like to be a part of it for sure.
You obviously, I'm going to guess, were part of the outdoor game that was down in the Columbus area. Is that something? How many of those have you partaken in, if I can ask that question?
Well, we haven't had anything here. We had an outdoor rink in the community for a couple years. But with the National Hockey League and their Winter Classic and Stadium Series games, I have done 11 of those.
Wow, that's a lot. And some easier than others, or what was the most challenging that you were involved in?
Well, the first one I ever worked was LA at Dodger Stadium, and it was unseasonably hot. The air's dry out there, so that was certainly a benefit for us. But it was, getting into it. You're building ice at night, because you're certainly not going to do it in the middle of the day. And it was kind of a, like I said, it's a different challenge. And then 5 weeks later, I go into Chicago at Soldier Field, and it's just the opposite. Single digit highs during the day with a wind chill of minus whatever, and it was almost too cold. So you go from one extreme to another, and we've had everything in between. I worked Dallas this year, and anybody that watched that saw what the crew went through a few days before the game with the rain and the wind. And it's everyone's been a little bit different as far as whether it's the climate or how the stadium is set up and the refrigeration run and different things like that. So, the experience on the crew certainly helps with that, but there's always a little bit of problem solving that has to go on. And if you can learn from each one, it makes the next one a little bit easier. So
it's certainly a challenge. I've watched some of those. I've felt for Dan Craig and all that he's had to try to do. And every time that he pulls it off and his crew, which you've been part of, many of them, pull it off, I think that just kind of further emboldens the NHL and saying, oh yeah, we can do this. And not really taking into account what kind of challenges that there are and how close it can be to not being able to host a game. But we as a hockey fan, I greatly appreciate everything that you've done to pull those things off.
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, it's an event in itself, and there's so much that goes into it. But the crew has the understanding that you're there for a game. It's a regular season game. It's not an exhibition or just just for entertainment. It's a National Hockey League game, and everybody takes that to heart and does their best. So yeah.
That's awesome. Did you grow up playing hockey?
I didn't. We would, the neighbor had season tickets for the Columbus Chill, and I would go to the occasional game with them. But wasn't a hockey guy. I started playing probably 12 years ago. Once I got into the rink and kind of met a few people, and a few invites later, I finally gave in and found some used gear and jersey and stick, and kind of learned as I went. So
now you're taking the big boys hard into the corner when you get the opportunity to be on the ice with them?
Not quite, no. I just kind of stay out of the way and keep my stick on the ice.
That's how you got to do it.
No.
If you park yourself in the net, in front of the net, how you can knock in a couple of goals.
Yep.
Are you a collector of hockey memorabilia? And if so, what would be your favorite item that you have so far?
I wouldn't say things that are personal to me, whether it be a puck from a game or some different things that the crew has done, or maybe a piece of an old logo, a playoff logo, things like that. I collect. I don't collect anything autographed. Never had a desire, or never really wanted anything autographed. I think, to me, it means more if there's a personal story behind it. You go through some challenging times, and whether you pull a game off and, uncertain, unusual circumstances, and you go, man, I want to remember that one. And, maybe you keep a puck from the game, or, different things like that. You write the date on it, kind of like you'd see the players, whether they score a hat trick or reach a milestone in points or something. So that's kind of more my focus, I guess, with the things that I hang on to. So
cool. Mine goes back to 2002 when I was at the Olympics in Salt Lake City, and I got the puck that was the winning goal when the USA beat Russia in the semifinal. And it was they didn't change pucks at that time, and it came up into the vomitory, and I was able to gather it in, and it's sitting in my closet. And there's no certificate of authenticity. It's just the memory of me getting the puck and putting it in my jacket when I caught it. So it's kind of cool to have stuff like that, and it's interesting, and I can relate with you where it means more to have something where there's a story behind it.
For sure, absolutely. Yep.
What you have a facility that has a practice facility and a community rink attached to the big building. There's only a few of those out. It seems like the NHL's kind of going that direction, to have the practice facility close by or attached. Little Caesars up in Detroit Edmonton, you guys. What kind of challenges do you face on the NHL side of the building and then on the community side of the building in trying to maintain for two distinctly different user groups?
Yeah, so I think with us, the biggest challenge is it's a single plant for both sheets. We have plenty of tonnage and horsepower to make it work, but you just have to be diligent of what's going on every day. Whether it's just practices or games, or on the practice rink, the plant can take care of that. But the biggest focus for me is during game time, or on a game day, is making sure that the practice rink is set up to have as little impact on the plant as possible during the game time. So throughout a Blue Jackets game, I'll typically start trying to cool that practice rink down, maybe 3 to 4 hours before the game starts. Get the plant running, and then I do my same routine before the game. Whether it's resurfacing every hour before up until warm-ups, and then monitoring the plant itself and the demand that the practice rink has. So I'll keep a track of their resurfacing schedule, know when they're going to be going out. The biggest thing for me is I want to be able to go out, have the plant running, go out and resurface during intermission or after warm-ups, and have that thing freeze as fast as possible and get me back down to the temperature I want. And if the practice rink is resurfacing, or if it's too warm and the plant's trying to take care of it, I'm not going to be able to do what I need. So it's a constant monitoring that I do basically from 4 p.m. through the end of the game. Once that second intermission resurface is complete and I meet my temperature, we're in pretty good shape then. So
that's interesting. It's going to lead me into a bit of a sales pitch. We did a podcast earlier with Cody Bateman down at Dallas Stars, and I'm sure you're probably pretty tight with him if you worked the outdoor game with him. What is in your fleet as far as machines, and have you seen or give consideration to either the fast ice or level ice products that are available for our equipment?
I have. I know Cody very well. Spoke to him this morning actually, and I've familiarized myself with both. We have a 500 in the practice rink. We have a 540 and a 545 in the on the main side, and don't have either of those products. But I think it's something that for me, I guess I'm kind of old school as far as I want the guys operating the machines to be able to do that, to be able to make those adjustments, and be that familiar and that comfortable on the machine to be able to make those adjustments, understanding the ice, and the depth of it, and then obviously with on the level ice side, the depth of it and keeping it that way, but also the fast ice side. For me, I haven't. I have not specifically been on a machine with fast ice. I've been through Cody's facility. I've watched probably a handful of his games, and kind of how watching how the ice sets up and kind of the look of it afterwards. For me, I think the fast ice, I don't think it is necessarily any different of a sheet of ice, as long as you can kind of maintain your ice throughout the day. I have, because of my building, we're not as busy as others, so I have the time to build ice properly with the machine or spraying. The fast ice system would allow for that. But I think, for me, I think I'm pretty comfortable with what I have now. So.
Cool. What you talked about operators, what kind of difficulties or challenges might you run into? Do you have interchangeability between the drivers, or do you specifically have a crew that's the NHL side and then the community rink side?
The local rink, the local chiller ice rink staff the practice ice side on their own, and then I've kind of pulled from them as far as some of the experienced guys that they've had, guys that have been around the city for a while that were working when I started, as well as I kind of keep an eye on the guys in the practice rink, and the guys that really, they take the time to do the little things as far as ice maintenance and caring for the machine and stuff like that. And that comes a long way, or that goes a long way with me, as far as somebody that I would trust on a machine during an NHL game. I'm lucky enough that the staff that is at the chillers, when their staff starts there, they do a great job of teaching them to drive the right way and to operate the machine the right way. So there's not a language barrier or another step that I'm kind of looking for them to take as far as, seeing how they operate the machine or how comfortable they are on the machine. So for me, it's kind of watching those guys, and I can speak to the guys that I'm, close with at the chiller and say, hey, who's the next guy in line? If I want another driver to kind of fold into the mix here, and I have about a half a dozen guys that I can rotate on the machines throughout games. And if there's another guy I need, I can kind of go to them, and I value their opinion enough that they can say, hey, this guy would be good. I've seen him drive. He cares. He takes care of the machine. He looks after it, and that goes a long way. So
cool. Hey, I've in my years of travels, I've liked to find places to eat that are unique, not necessarily the chains. I try to avoid those. Obviously, you're not going to be able to when you travel, but in Columbus, what would be a go-to restaurant? And I'm going to throw, my brain's not functioning real well, but I think there's a hot dog place not too far from the Greyhound bus station, that with Dirty Frank's maybe, or something like that, if I recall correctly.
Yep. Dirty Frank's. Yep.
Okay. Would that be a place that you would frequent, or what would be your go-to place for whatever your favorite meal is in Columbus?
I don't frequent Dirty Frank's a lot. There's a fair number of our staff on the Blue Jackets side that when it was possible, they would go almost weekly. A small group of them go over to Dirty Frank's for lunch. So it's definitely a popular spot. I've had it a few times. It's worth the price. It's a great hot dog. For me, I like to go into the short north, just up High Street there from the arena. It's the 10 or 15-minute walk. But there's some nicer restaurants up there, some good bar food, Pint House and the Pearl, the Hubbard Grill. If I want to sit down and have a really good steak, we have Hyde Park Steakhouse up there. That's a little bit nicer place, but I like to get into there. If I just want to get away from the bar food, you can go up there and get a really good meal for a good price. So
great. One thing that I do have a question, and maybe you can fill me in, is about the arches. I've been to Columbus on several occasions for some conferences and trade shows, and as you're going up the main drag, there's these arches that going across the street. What's the story behind that, if you can offer an explanation?
I'm not sure if there's necessarily, or I guess I don't know what the story is behind it. We do have a large stone archway across the road from the arena that sits at a park, and that archway was the original archway for the Union train station that used to be downtown decades ago. And when they started developing the land around the arena, they wanted to, because that station no longer existed, it was such an iconic piece of the city. They wanted to make sure, they didn't want to just get rid of it. They wanted to make sure that they could, preserve it somehow. And the folks that kind of set up the Nationwide Arena District, they said, let's put it right here. It'll be a great spot for it. Kind of neighbors the arena there, and it'll be a good place. So I can't remember how many, tons it is, but it's giant. And they were able to move it all in one piece, put it on the back of a trailer. And it took several days, I think, to get it moved from one spot to the other, but it was successful. It stayed all in one piece. And if you ever come down to the arena, you can see it right across the street there. And to think that somebody picked that up, put it on a trailer, and moved it down the road, several blocks, it's kind of a feat, impressive feat, I guess, to think of somebody doing that. So.
Well, I've been fortunate enough to come down to your arena and that area on several occasions, and it's really, in addition to it being a huge college town, which that's on my bucket list, is to see a game at the Ohio State. It's a very fun area, a lot of things to do, and people want to go to see an NHL game. It's one of the better buildings in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, Nationwide Realty, they were the entity that founded that kind of idea of having a district around the arena, developing it, the restaurants, the bars, the shopping, the condos and the living area, the office spaces, and it just continues to grow. We've got a few new hotels going up in the area. They put the AAA baseball park across the street from us there, the Columbus Clippers. And then down the road from that, now they're working on the new soccer stadium for the Columbus Crew. So it's been quite the changes in the last 20 years since the team was since they started. But yeah, they've really done a great job of developing that area.
Great. I've got a couple of questions. We've got Marty Elliott sitting in as well, and he's got a couple. I'll wrap up my questions and then throw it at Marty. We've talked recently with Al Sabatka of the Detroit Red Wings, and he's got a big pregame barbecue that he hosts a few times a year during the season. Do you have anything that is a tradition similar to that, either pre or post game, for your team or people that come to visit the arena?
Not really. For me, I think it's, I'm there all day. Typically my day starts about 6 a.m. on a game day. So come 6 p.m., you're 12 hours into the day, but you're just getting started on the most important part of it. So I always have my pregame coffee, and my guys they'll walk down and to the press lounge together once everybody's kind of changed and in uniform, and kind of go down together and grab a coffee and get things ready to go. So no barbecue or anything, but yeah, definitely have to have the coffee to get the mind going again and be ready for whatever the game brings. So
one of these days, I hope to get old enough and cultured enough to drink coffee and enjoy it. If it tasted like it smelled, I'd be all over it. But unfortunately, to me, it tastes like burnt water.
Yeah.
The last question I've got for you before I toss it to Marty for a couple is, what is with the cannon? Okay, I've been there for a few different games, one of which was an all-star game where the scoring was non-ending, so we got to hear that cannon. And how many people have been scared senseless because of that cannon?
It is quite the surprise when you hear it for the first time. It's always an enjoyment when you see the new teams come in and the rookies that haven't been in the building, and they forget about it. And we see the videos within the office or posted somewhere on social media of whether it be a broadcast member or a writer or a player or coach, getting scared by it. It's, it sits there in the corner of the arena. And, the All-Star game was a bit of an overkill, I guess, on the cannon, but, yeah, it's always good, obviously, when we're scoring and we hear it more, but, yeah, it's quite loud, and it'll definitely surprise you when you go in there.
That's one of the most unique sound effects that I've heard, and not to mention scary, I think, when you're not expecting it. So
Yeah.
I want to toss this over to Marty so that he can ask a few questions. Marty, you're there. Fire away for some of your questions, please.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Thanks. Hey, Ian, how are you?
Great.
Good to hear from you. Yeah, just got a couple questions from you. I guess the first one is if you can look back for the time in your tenure at the Nationwide Arena, perhaps a fond memory of a player or coach or a crazy situation that you might be able to share with us. Do you have anything you want to share with the listeners?
I guess my time there, obviously we've had some rough years. 11 years, we've got a great group now as far as our hockey operations and coaching and players, and we're in a pretty good spot as far as the organization goes, is, getting better each year and improving, and, winning our first ever playoff series last year against Tampa was huge. I would say that's probably the most memorable for me at this point. The looking back and being able to be a part of, we've had some home wins in the past with the playoffs, and that's kind of that new benchmark, was, being able to be in the building and, for game 4 and watching us win a series. And, for a lot of the people, myself, I've been there for a majority of the time, but the people that have been around for so long, and, some of the people that have been around day one, whether it's staff or, season ticket holders, or, just seeing them kind of feel a bit of a reward from that and their time and effort that's been in. But yeah, it's been great. We've had certainly a good number of head coaches and assistant coaches, and I can't say a bad thing about anybody. The sport itself is great, being around, and the people are great. So we're working with the coaches and the players and the training staff like I do, because the practice rink is there. They're in my building every day.
Right.
A lot of the other big buildings, the guys that look after the ice aren't necessarily going to the practice rink to take care of things. So I have a little closer relationship, I think, with that group, because I have the practice rink in the building. But it's everybody has truly been great, helping me along, especially when I started, and, it's very green as far as my knowledge of the industry. And, I can remember my first year coming in. It's August, it's summertime. We get into camp in September, preseason, and players are all over the ice, and it was a couple weeks of it, and I just, at that point, I just kind of had my head down and just get my work done and trying to do things as best I could. And I think it was maybe the second week of the season. Ken Hitchcock was our coach at the time. One of the media had said something, had brought up the ice to him, and he said, "Hey, look, he's new, he's figuring things out. He's going to get better, but the ice isn't the reason we're losing hockey games." So
how honest.
we're not gonna blame the ice. And at that point, I didn't know Hitch very well, and I probably should have walked in his office and thanked him, for saying that and sticking up for me. And I think that was a huge part of getting me through my first year. Was it kind of let me put everything behind me and move forward. And obviously, you go into wintertime, it's a little bit easier to do our job in the wintertime in most cities. So, things got better, and I learned from, different things that I was doing, and, the conversion side of it, and cleanup, and how to better maintain and build ice and things like that. So it was quite the learning experience my first year, but that certainly stuck out as far as something that, I needed at the time, but didn't know, didn't
Sure.
really expect it to be there. But yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, that's a great story to tell. The support, because a lot of the head engineer, ice technicians of the NHL rinks sometimes don't have that relationship from the team side. So it's nice to hear that a coach did what he did, standing up for you. I got to ask you though. I mean, we all see on the media side, John Tortorelli, Torts, how he is with reporters. How is Torts with you guys? Does he give you feedback? Positive or negative, and how involved is he with the ice operations?
For me, Torts is he's very much, he's I don't want to what's the phrase I want to use here. He worries about what he's supposed to be worrying about, which he knows is coaching the players and that day to day. If there's an issue with the ice or something during practice or a game, he's not going to be the guy that calls me out or calls me in and says, hey, what's going on. He'll have an assistant coach come down, and whether it's just something that hey, we want to resurface during practice, or we're going to switch and we're going to do power play in the practice rink, then we're going to come over to the main side for practice. All of that is funneled through the assistant coaches. So I don't really ever have any conversations with him, or really in the past any of the head coaches that as far as ice goes, because it's they understand the business, they understand kind of what we go through, and I think there's a respect for myself that he knows what he's doing, and they're going to be challenging times, and as long as he feels like I'm giving the best effort, and it's just going to be, it is what it is kind of deal. And
Right. That's great support to have that with your main tenant, which leads me into non-ice and ice events. What are the biggest challenges as far as converting back and forth that you guys have to go through, or are there any major challenges going from non-ice to ice and ice to non-ice?
I think for us, and I've kind of learned it over the years, it's about protecting the ice when you're going into a concert or a non-hockey event. So it's putting the floor down, doing it the right way, having good flooring as well, stuff that's not beat up, stuff that you're not going to have to clean up afterwards. Going through that process, we have a great conversion crew there. Their priorities are in line as far as, we've got a game tomorrow morning. We're changing over to the concert tonight. So we need to get the ice ready first so he can come in first thing early in the morning and start getting it cleaned up. There's the occasional surprise, I guess, whether it be, just a lot of spills or mop water, anything like that gets down on the ice that you have to clean up. Most cleanups are pretty standard as far as going out, shaving a bucket or two off the top, a resurface, and then kind of look at it and see what else you have to pick out. If there's anything that kind of got into the ice below the surface, and that sort of thing. So we have a duty cycle on the ice plant itself, so that the ice is covered, it's kind of insulated. So the coldest part of the rink is in the middle there where the sensors are and the slab. So where you're going to start warming up is around the outside along the boards. You've got more airflow there. So what the duty cycle does is allows that glycol in those lines to circulate, and you can set it. Ours it runs for 10 minutes every hour, and then if it's still at set point, it'll shut itself off. If it feels that it's warming up, it'll cool it down to where it's to whatever you need it to be, and then shut itself back off. So that certainly helped. We did not have a duty cycle when I started. So you would have the dehydration. If you were covered for more than a few days, you'd have that dehydration or separation that you get along the boards, around the boards, where sometimes if it was even longer, that pump's not running, you're going out and patching paint or slushing, or, trying to pack those edges back in. And the duty cycles, it's been great for not having to worry about that. So
for our for our general public listeners to this podcast, I wonder how many actually realize when they're at a non-ice event that the ice is still underneath their feet. I've talked to some people and they think that the ice has been removed and put back in after a concert. Meanwhile, it's been under their feet the whole time. I'm sure you've probably seen that a fair amount as well. Hey, I'm going to pass this back to Doug Peters. Ian, thanks for sharing the information. Great to hear from you.
You bet. You too. It was my pleasure.
Thanks, pal.
Marty, thank you for the great questions. And Ian, I want to thank you for taking time with us today and spending some time and giving us a lot of great insight into what goes on at Nationwide Building as well as the practice facility. And I just can't thank you enough for doing this, sir. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah. No, it's nice talking to you guys and joining you and kind of sharing a little bit of my story. And, like you said, there's the old guys in the league now, and one day I'll be one of those old guys. So if I can get some information out now, I'll.
You're a young guy, but you're a very experienced guy, Ian, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. And I look forward to when the opportunity arises when I can either get back down to Columbus or when we get together for a FOMA meeting and have a chance to chat again.
Absolutely. You guys are always welcome. So.
Great. Thank you. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. This is episode of Ask the Zamboni Experts. We hope you'll come back for another installment in the future. Have a question for one of our experts or an idea for a future episode? Please email your questions or requests to info@zamboni.com. For more info and additional podcast episodes, please visit zamboni.com/podcast or search Ask the Zamboni Experts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. This is Doug Peters wishing you an ice day.